1. 60% of the human brain is made of fat. Not in the least does that make it the fattiest organ in the human body. However, these unsaturated fats are critical for your cerebrum's exhibition. Ensure you're powering it properly with sound, Cerebrum helping supplements. 2. Your brain isn't full grown until age 25. Mental health starts from the rear of the brain and works its direction to the front. Thusly, your cerebrums, which control arranging and thinking, are the last to reinforce and structure associations. 3. Your brain's stockpiling limit is thought of as practically limitless. Research proposes the human brain comprises of around 86 billion neurons. Every neuron structures associations with different neurons, which could amount to 1 quadrillion, 1,000 trillion, associations. Over the long haul, these neurons can consolidate, expanding capacity limit. Nonetheless, in Alzheimer's sickness, for instance, numerous neurons can become harmed and quit working, especially influencing memory. 4. Brain data makes a trip up to a great 268 miles each hour. At the point when a neuron is invigorated, it creates an electrical drive that movement from one cell to another. A disturbance in this standard handling can cause an epileptic seizure. 5. On normal, your spinal string quits developing at 4 years of age. Your spinal line, which comprises of a heap of sensory tissue and backing cells, is answerable for sending messages from your brain all through your body. 6. The spinal rope is the primary wellspring of correspondence between the body and the cerebrum. ALS, or amyotrophic sidelong sclerosis, prompts the neurons in the brain and spinal line to bite the dust, affecting controlled muscle development. Another illness that influences both the brain and the spinal rope is various sclerosis, MS. In MS, the resistant framework goes after the defensive layer that covers nerve strands, causing correspondence issues between the cerebrum and the body. 7. It's a fantasy that you just utilize 10% of your cerebrum. You really utilize every last bit of it. Indeed, in any event, when you are dozing. Nervous system specialists affirm that your brain is generally dynamic. 8. The human brain weighs 3 pounds. That is probably essentially as much as a half-gallon of milk. Nonetheless, size doesn't necessarily in all cases suggest knowledge. Men will quite often possess bigger brain power than ladies. 9. A brain freeze is actually a sphenopalatine ganglioneuralgia. This aggravation happens when cold raises a ruckus around town in the external covering of the brain, called the meninges. The virus makes a widening and compression of veins, causing a quick beginning migraine. 10. A piece of cerebrum tissue the size of a grain of sand contains 100,000 neurons and 1 billion neurotransmitters. Nonetheless, harm to neurons can have an extraordinary effect. During a stroke, for instance, blood can't get oxygen to the brain. Accordingly, synapses can pass on, and capacities in that specific region of the brain can be lost. Likewise, Parkinson's sickness happens when the phones of a piece of your brain called the substantia nigra, substantia nigra, is a piece of your basal ganglia, framing associations with various pieces of your cerebrum. It produces dopamine, which controls developments and muscle tone, start to kick the bucket. 11. The human brain can produce around 23 watts of force, enough to drive a light. All that power requires some much required rest. Sufficient rest keeps up with the pathways in your brain,